This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century. Blacktastic greetings to everyone, family. This is Brother Ron Hurd, also known as R2, C2, H2, the Artivist. And this is another wonderful infotainment, edutainment edition of the Artivist Thinks. I am broadcasting to you from Montgomery, Alabama, home of the old Confederacy. This was the first capital of the Confederacy back in the Civil War age. Also, this is the home of the Montgomery bus boycott movement. And this is the place that gave us Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. See, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just fall out the sky. He was pushed to become the great man that he ended up becoming because of the village. The village chose Dr. King to lead them during that successful 381 bus boycotts. We need to study that closely, family, because back then the movement was about the black man, woman, and child, the real Trinity. The real Holy Trinity is the black man, woman, and child, aka the black family. And what I'm talking about today is my first impressions as I went through the Equal Justice Initiative Legacy Museum, which is, unless you was on a rock for several weeks, there's been a lot of hoopla. This museum and its memorial was actually covered by 60 Minutes in a segment produced by the one and only Oprah. See, when you become really famous and big time, people know you only by your first name. So it's Oprah. She covered this. And the Equal Justice Initiative is the brainchild of Brian Stevenson. He is a lawyer extraordinaire. He has literally got people off of death row. He got about 100 people off of death row. Him and his Equal Justice Initiative movement. And he came up with the idea to create a legacy museum and a memorial dedicated to the victims of lynching. America's real pastime. It's not baseball, but lynching black people, lynching the black family. White terrorism is America's national pastime. But I can get into all those type of tangents in a little bit in a different segment, but I want to touch upon my initial thoughts of coming down here because Oprah covered this in 60 Minutes several weeks ago. A lot of hoopla. April 26th was the official opening date of the Legacy Museum and the lynching memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. Like I said, this is the place where Dr. King's career got started as a civil rights leader. And so it makes a lot of sense to have this museum and this institute here. What I love about the museum, I haven't been to the memorial as of this taping, but I will have another video talking about my reactions to the memorial. I know it's going to be very emotional for me going there. But my initial action and response is this. I want to read what I had written initially about my initial thoughts about the museum. Shout out to Sister Jennifer Ray Taylor Milligan. The sister, I call her A.L.L. She's like a modern day Ida B. Wells in her own right. She is a freedom fighter, but she used the legal system to do her battles. She's a lawyer extraordinaire. Shout out to her and her family, her wonderful family. But I want to read my initial thoughts about the museum. Congrats to the Equal Justice Initiative for opening a civil rights museum for millennials. It's laid out and interactive like a smartphone, not too top-heavy like the Smithsonian African American History Museum, and not too bougie and corporate like the National Civil Rights Museum. Just the right balance like some Goldilocks porridge. In the spirit of Malcolm X, they made the case for reparations plain and institutionalized. The presentation is both graphically pleasing and pretty graphic. Subtle and yet also blunt and to the point. Thanks to Sister Jennifer Ray Taylor Milligan, aka A.L.L, for allowing me access once again. I'm going to, Brother Brian Stevenson and company are doing amazing God work in Montgomery that's impacting the nation. I am glad I made the 5-hour pilgrimage from Memphis. Thanks to all who have consistently or ever. Okay, that's my initial thoughts. But I want to get more deeper into that. That's something I shared. I think it's phenomenal. It's truly a part of Dr. King's living legacy, because like you got the museum is laid out. It's not as overwhelming as the multiple story Smithsonian African American Museum. It's not so stagnant and cut off from the community like the National Civil Rights Museum is. Like, to me, the National Civil Rights Museum is nothing but a crown jewel in corporate America's crown. It is the playground of Pitt Hyde, the founder of AutoZone. That's his baby. It does not belong to the people. The only thing significant about that place is that Dr. King died there. And, you might find it hard to believe that the place where Dr. King was crucified was on his way being tore down. They was going to tear down the Lorraine Motel back in the 80s, and it was saved by a group of strong black men like A.W. Willis, Mr. Chuck Scruggs, Judge DeArmond Bailey, and Judge Joe Brown. That's the untold story of the museum. It was not considered valuable until men in the community reacted to protect and save that heritage. So we would not even have the Civil Rights Museum if it was not for the village responding in the way it responded. And Judge Joe Brown, like I said, the Judge Joe Brown that I talk to all the time, we all be, he helped save that historic landmark. Because Lorraine Motel was nothing but the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Say what? Okay. But what I'm saying is, what I love about this particular museum is not too overwhelming, and it is made for the millennial, for the person who does not read 300 pages of history book stuff. This is made for the non-reader to understand how institutionalized slavery is connected to lynching, and white terrorism is connected to school to prison pipeline, is connected to private prisons industry. See, the 13th Amendment never abolished slavery. It allows slavery as punishment, and black folks have been getting punished by this system since at least 1619. But what I'm saying is, I think the museum is very valuable because a living organism is connected to the community. Like I said, Brian Stevenson is a true, like what Charles Hamilton Houston said, the former dean of Howard University Law School, and the Jegna, not mentor, but the Jegna of the one and only Thurgood Marshall. A lawyer can either be a social engineer or a parasite. And Brian Stevenson is a social engineer for justice. He is a tool of good. And his work speaks for itself. So with this museum, it's not just a historic antique road show, a historic we call those places where people keep stuff, storage units. Like Miles Davis, the great jazz musician Miles Davis, once said that museum is where they keep dead things. I paraphrase Miles Davis, said museum is where dead things are kept. This is definitely much a living organism because slavery is still alive and well in America. And I will hope that, people will make it their duty to come down to support this fabulous movement and institution. Because my tragedy about the Civil Wrongs Museum, I call it the National Civil Wrongs Museum in Memphis, is that it does not do anything really for the community. Like I said, it's a corporate crown jewel, and that's about it. It has no connection to the community. If it was really doing the God work and the living legacy of Dr. King, they will be training community organizers, leaders, and agitators, and those type of people for the next generations. They're not training anybody. It's not a place where people go to get revolutionary training, organizing training, or anything of that situation. As a matter of fact, I make it my pastime when I have time to go down there to troll the National Civil Rights Museum in their courtyard to tell people the real truth of how Dr. King got assassinated or crucified in Memphis, April 4th, 1968. I had the pleasure last weekend of talking to people from Kenya and Germany and all parts of America, including Atlanta, about what really happened to Dr. King in Memphis and how it was an inside job. And I got to remind them that December 8th, 1999, that the U.S. government was found guilty, not James Earl Ray. The U.S. government was found complicit, aka guilty, in the assassination, the crucifixion of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was proven in U.S. civil court in Memphis, Tennessee, December 8th, 1999. I always tell them to read the book, The Plot to Kill King, to the greater understanding of the vast conspiracy that was involved in the elimination of this so-called Black Messiah, as labeled by J. Edgar Hoover. Baba Dick Gregory, my Jegna, did work with Mark Lane in code name Zorro. Zorro was the name for Dr. King given by the FBI and the intelligence community. They laid the groundwork for uncovering the conspiracy behind Dr. King's death. But my thing is, where do we go from here? We bury the man and continue to plan. And to me, the EJI Legacy Museum come the closest of all the museums I have been to in my lifetime that talks about civil rights movement, that talks about African American liberation struggle, to really embodying the spirit of being creatively maladjusted, of being an agitator for justice, and not just us, but for all of us, and really speaking to that King philosophy. Because this is where he got started, in Montgomery. You know, he was leader over the Montgomery Improvement Association. They led a successful boycott for 381 straight days. Black folks did not ride the bus. Black folks invented Uber and Lyft doing the Montgomery bus boycotts. Because you had a lot of people with their own cars driving folks to and from work and church and the grocery store and all that stuff. So when Black solidarity come together, that's Black power. Black power is about solidarity and unity. White power is about divide and conquer. This system is fueled on white power. This is not white supremacy. This is white inferiority. You don't have to cut people off to be supreme if you're really supreme. Stop calling it white supremacy. It's white mediocrity. It's white inferiority. It's anything but supreme. The way y'all figure white supremacy works cannot exist in nature. Mother Nature would destroy this thing y'all call white supremacy. Mother Nature is undefeated like Father Time. So I want to encourage you all to go down to that museum. Because like I said, it's not too overwhelming. Like, there's a lot of stuff that comes at you, but you could actually get to that museum. You could make it, actually, you could take one day to really go through the museum in its entirety and get like such a great understanding of where we are in relation to where we was 50 years ago, 150 years ago, and 200 years ago. They make it very plain and direct. I think they do a great job of incorporating audio visual. I think they got a segment from the Eyes on the Prize that talks about the Montgomery bus boycott, because that's something that still is understudied. We still don't understand how great of an achievement the Montgomery bus boycott was. And this was when all Black folks was getting in and fighting for the liberation. This is not Freedom Summer of 64. This is not about white college students or white saviors. These are Black folks acting as Black messiahs saving themselves. So it's going to take Black folks to liberate themselves. We can't depend on anybody to liberate us. But the way you liberate people is not through always violence or bloodshed. You can liberate a person's mind. See, they've got our minds all shackled up. We got to reboot and reprogram our mind so we can understand what's at stake. So we can open up that third eye and we can manifest what we want. And that's another thing. The visuals are so powerful because you got over 4,000 documented lynchings. And the reason why we know about these 4,000 plus lynchings is because of another black institution, Tuskegee. Took the time to document, and it was more than probably 4,000 folks that got lynched about, from Reconstruction time all the way up to the 60s. I mean, I hear stories all the time from old timers about whole families being massacred by white racist SOBs. I mean, the backwoods of Mississippi and Alabama. So it's untold numbers. Even we are approaching the 100th anniversary of the A.L.L race massacre over in Arkansas, right across the bridge from Memphis, where you had anywhere from 30 or 24 people upwards to hundreds and even thousands of black people were genocided by white folks with the okay of the governor of Arkansas, who was a Mississippian. And he actually utilized their National Guards and whatnot, and white folks and lynch mobs went around massacring black folks wholesale. You even had a famous black brothers, the Johnston brothers. They were lynched. These were successful black businessmen and professional men who was well known nationally in the black community. They were lynched just for being black at the wrong place at the wrong time. So American history is like a long ass gangster rap album. So it is good that Bryan Stevenson had the big brass ones to pull this out. And Bryan Stevenson, I respect his hustle. I respect his vision. I respect his mythology, because a lot of people complain, well, he got corporate sponsors, he got this and that. But what he did was he made the case for black folks to receive reparations. And he made it in a way where it does not, it allows white folks to not always just feel guilty, but to feel empowered about knowing why they should feel guilty for their privilege. He's not just pointing the finger at white folks saying, you bastards are evil. What he's saying is, look, this is why you should feel bad about being in a position of power and influence in a system that degrades, demeans, and dehumanizes black people. This is how your wealth was built. This is the root of the problem. This is the root of the issue. This is not about emotionalism. This is about logic. But once you see the evidence, you can become emotional, because this is institutionalized terrorism. People talking about a war on terror. America was built on terrorism. America was built on free labor. It was not built on capitalism. It was built on slavery. But slavery is a part of capitalism. See, what I'm saying about capitalism is the fantasy idea that people have about capitalism, where people pull themselves up by the bootstraps, is private business. But no, corporations have always been subsidized by their governments. Donald Trump's, the president, 45 Agent Orange, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Cheeto, his family fortune was a product of corporate welfare. His family fortune was subsidized by the United States government. They got millions and millions of dollars, his father did, to build affordable housing for people in the New York area. Donald Trump could not have the success he's having without that corporate welfare, without being subsidized, his family fortune being subsidized by the government. It's like the Homestead Acts of the 1860s. You had white folks coming from Europe with no money, but they was able to get land to build generational wealth. Land that black folks worked for generations for free without any benefit. Even with sharecropping, black folks was working in debt. That was a form of slavery, because you could never get out of debt. So you can't win in a system that's set up for you to fail. So the Equal Justice Initiative Legacy Museum makes the case plain and makes it very accessible to people to understand this complex legacy that our country has. So I could talk a lot about this, but I want to congratulate Brian Stevenson and his people for pulling this off. He did the impossible. Brian Stevenson put his law degree and his talents to good use. I'm looking forward to seeing more great things from this beautiful brother and his people. And I want to thank him for doing this for us, because he has made this now a part of the national dialogue. It wasn't that long ago that talk about lynching was taboo in America, mainstream box. It was taboo among black people. We suffer our generational trauma in silence. So it's now time for everybody else to feel the pain, to understand how they were abused by this system as well. Even those with privilege were abused psychologically in all types of ways by this system that they don't even have any understanding. But I believe by going to this museum and going to the memorial, because this is our Black Holocaust. This is our Black Holocaust. See, black pain has always been entertainment for white people. The entertainment industry complex, as well as the country's economic system and all its systems, has been built on black pain. And it was disrespected for generations, even by black people, because we've been programmed, we so hurt, we've been programmed in such a way. Now it's time to redistribute the pain. Everybody must feel my pain. Feel my pain. Can you feel me? Time to feel me. So that's what I'm saying. So support this museum, man. It's powerful. I mean, I spent about maybe under 3 hours, and it was like, wow, so much information, overwhelming, but slow down. Take your time going through. You can actually go through there one good day. You get to the whole museum, whereas you look at the Smithsonian African American Museum, it would take you a good week from open to close every day to get, go to that museum. But with this EGI museum, you can do it in one full day. And what I love about Montgomery is so much history, man. Montgomery is amazing. It's a beautiful city, beautiful people, but it's so much history. This was the original site of the Confederacy. This is where Dr. King's career started. There's so many things in Montgomery in terms of history. I always used to wonder why Dexter Avenue Church was never bombed by the Klan. If you go to Dexter Avenue Church, you will understand why. It's right up the street from the Capitol. So they could not justify that church getting burnt down because it's right up the street from the Capitol, where we got police and fire department nearby. So this is where Dr. King got started. He actually still got his office. They got his chair where he used to sit in his office available. If you are in Montgomery, please make it your business to go to their church for a tour. It's a powerful, impactful tour, because the cat that was there before Dr. King was Vernon Johns. And he was a bad brother. It's like he was John the Baptist, Dr. King's Jesus. So, I mean, Montgomery's a fascinating place, y'all. One of the largest and most important slave markets in America was in Montgomery. Like I said, this was the old Confederacy capital before Richmond. It was in Montgomery. So, I think I said enough. I'm going to go to the memorial and get my thoughts about the memorial. I want to interview people and get their response as well. So if you like the words from Brother Hurd, please spread the word, and also support the We All Be movement, man, because I can't do it without people supporting. I want to thank all the people that have donated, that have contributed to sustaining this movement. I feel like this is my God work. My God work is my love letter to the people out there for the generations. It really humbles me when I go to events around the country and people recognize who I am. When I'm sitting in the public library doing research, thinking of a master plan, manifesting a alternate reality for the liberation and humanity of our people, my people, black people. People come up to me and say, "You Brother Ron, for We All Be. I want to thank you." Or people say, "Well, Brother Ron," I mean, young black men, their 20s, 30s, young black women and men, families, saying they be listening to We All Be TV, that they have their children listen to the information. See, and it humbles me, because I'm doing my God work, and people, nobody knows the trouble I sing. Nobody knows my sorrow. It rejuvenates me to know that people are receiving my God work and they are using it to better their lives and the lives of their children. Because I'm doing this for the generations. My people will not inherit the win from Brother Run and We All Be. When I go, it's bury the man and continue to plan. But hopefully through what I do, through my God work, I'm laying down the blueprint for the generations to come and for my people living now. Let's deal together, family. And don't worry about my personality, because people get mad because they want to talk to Brother Ron. They leave 3-minute voice messages. I'm listening to stuff, but y'all don't understand the things that's going on right now with me. That when you live in your God work, the enemy is not going to make it easy for you to deal with your people sometimes. And it is what it is. It comes with the territory. So I want to thank you all and pray for peace, love, positivity, and life for everybody. But thank you all for receiving this message. I am honored to serve the people. And I'm not, complaining about serving the people, but I'm honored to serve the people and to make time to build. But like I said, just be patient with me. If you appreciate what I'm doing, just understand that I'm not trying to be funny. I just got a lot going on. If you really care about people, if you really care about liberation, your life is not your own. My life doesn't belong to me. It is what it is. I'm just now coming to the realization I don't have a life that belongs to me. I belong to the movement. The ancestors are my entourage, excuse me. So I want to thank you all for being patient, for receiving the information, share it, but also support, invest in We All Be. Bow to church. I got church. Honoring the righteous ancestors, remembering the fallen. This is my shirt in honor of Frederick Carter, the brother I investigated his lynching death in Mississippi back in December 2010. I honor the ancestor Attn Wells Barnett with my work and with my art. So you can buy and wear We All Be art or Artivist art. You can make donations, recurring donations, be a part of the patreon.com / We All Be movement, PayPal, whatever. And, this is not begging, but I want you to understand, y'all must invest in what you want. If you really believe in knowledge being power, then make those who provide the information powerful. Don't have me worry about social media folks, white people, media, censoring me by doing my God work to help my people. Put my mind at ease so I can do more work for everybody else. That's all I'm saying. If you benefited from it. We got to start supporting the people on the front lines better. It's not important how you do it in terms of, it's not just about money. It should be like, Brother Ron, put this out, promote it in your networks if this is beneficial for your family to grow. Show up at Brother Ron's events. People tell me they want to help me, but hell, I be getting DMs and other shit and text messages. I saw you at the event, Brother Ron. I didn't introduce myself to you, but I saw you when you were struggling with your tripod and your camera and you were trying to get access and you were dropping stuff. Well, if you say you want to help me, why don't you make yourself accessible at that point? Brother Ron, I'm a fan of your work. Let me help you get set up. I don't have time to be, people are, well, you can pick me up at so-and-so place. No. If you really want to help the movement, do like I do. Show up. 90% of life is showing up. That's all. Show up, show out. But be yourself at all times. So that's my message. And like I said, come to Montgomery. Make it your business to come to Montgomery, Alabama to support the Equal Justice Initiative work, as well as their museum and memorial that concerns the Black Holocaust, that concerns the criminalization of the Black family, of young Black youth, calling them super predators. We allow these folks to demonize our children, and then we wonder why they don't respect the elders and they wear their pants below their ankles. Because why should they? The children know shit that a lot of elders don't understand. It's the fact that this system does not respect Black folks' humanity. They said it much to Dred Scott in their U.S. Supreme Court decision, that you nor your descendants have any rights that the white man is bound to respect. Dred Scott is buried right outside of Ferguson in the same cemetery as General Sherman, who burned down Atlanta, the Union Civil War general. But at the same time, he was cursed, him and his descendants. We are the descendants of Dred Scott. We are not respected. So respect yourself enough to learn this history, no matter how brutal or tragic, So I had a chance to talk to a sister from Atlanta. She went to the memorial for the lynching victims. She had several family members who were lynched by this system. And it shook her to the core. She shared this stuff with her family via social media. This is powerful stuff, people. This is our history. Respect it. It's like how the Jewish people respect the Holocaust. Black lives matter. I ain't talking about the organization supported by George Soros. I'm saying your black life matter, my black life matter. So what's the matter with us when we can't support things that tells our story, that shares our pain with the rest of the world? You know, the museum does not cost that much to go to. $5, more $5. Most you probably pay. You can do a $10 combination thing. You go to both the memorial and the museum. But this is our living legacy. The ancestors demand justice. We demand justice. The living demand justice. The ancestors demand justice. The future generations demand justice. The revolution is coming. Whether you like it or not, you know, people trying to say revolution ain't coming. You just can't keep on begging the devil for mercy. The devil is not qualified to give mercy. You say you believe in God, but you beg the devil for mercy. You can't serve two masters. So believe that, like I said, support the movement, support this museum, Equal Justice Initiative. Google Brian Stevenson, check out his TED Talks, check out the 14-minute segment from 60 Minutes about the museum, about the memorial. This is about us. Brian Stevenson, like I said, if folks say they knew he was going to be this great man, they lying. We all got potential as black folks to be great. Everybody has potential, but this system robs us of our potential. But I don't believe nobody saw but Brian what he was going to be able to manifest when he started the Equal Justice Initiative back in 1989. This is amazing. It's like you can't tell me nobody from high school where Michael Jordan went to knew that he was going to become the Michael Jordan, become the GOAT. Even Dean Smith, his college basketball coach, had no idea who he was coaching. He said that much. So be humble. Like Kendrick Lamar said, be humble. Sit down and be humble and then learn some stuff. Like I said, this museum is set up like a smartphone, like an iPhone. And you can pull all this stuff. The beauty about our life right now is that you can actually use your smartphone and research the information that was gathered at that museum. That's a beautiful thing, y'all. So this is Brother Ron signing off. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep producing and pushing. Right on, baby. Keep the faith, baby. One love.